welcome once again in the video lecture of Communication Engineering. In today's video lecture, we are going to discuss about the time division multiplexing technique that is utilized in case of digital communication, and then we will discuss some of the line coding techniques that will help us to transmit digital data. So let us start first with the introduction of multiplexing. What do we understand by the term multiplexing? Multiplexing is the process of combining multiple signals into one signal over a shared or common or a single medium. So with the help of this particular technique, what we can do, we can combine several signals together and then we can transmit all of them simultaneously over a single channel. If the analog signals are multiplexed together, then it is called as analog multiplexing, and if the digital signals are multiplexed together, then it is called as digital multiplexing. The device with the help of which we can perform this multiplexing is called as multiplexer. So we can categorize multiplexer as analog multiplexer and as digital multiplexer depending upon what kind of signal we want to multiplex. If we want to multiplex analog signal, then we'll go for analog multiplexers. If we want to multiplex digital signals, then we'll go to with the digital multiplexers. Further, analog multiplexing technique can be divided in two types, that is frequency division multiplexing and wavelength division multiplexing. The digital multiplexing technique can be divided as a time division multiplexing, where we have two subcategories of time division multiplexing, that is synchronous time division multiplexing and asynchronous time division multiplexing. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss about the digital multiplexing technique, that is time division multiplexing, and its two types, that is synchronous TDM and asynchronous TDM. So let us start with the introduction of time division multiplexing technique, which is a kind of digital multiplexing technique. So time division, we know, is a as I have discussed, that it is a kind of digital multiplexing technique. What we do in case of time division multiplexing technique, as the name suggests, we used to divide time in a particular slots for performing multiplexing. In TDM, the channel or the link is divided on the basis of time. Here, the division will be done on the basis of time. That is why it is called as TDM, time division multiplexing. Total time available in the channel is divided between several users. If we have n number of users, then the total time available for the transmission of the data, the time will be a fixed time or not fixed time, depending upon the type of TDM, will be allocated to each user for transmitting and receiving the data. So here the division will be done on the basis of total time available. What we do in this particular case, in this particular type of multiplexing, each user is allocated with a particular time interval called as time slot or time slice, during which the data is transmitted by that particular user. Only that user can transmit or receive data in that particular time slot. So thus each sending device takes control of the entire bandwidth of the channel for a fixed amount of time in case of time division multiplexing. What happens in case of frequency division multiplexing, that we have also discussed in the very first unit when we discussed the need of modulation. So one of the need of modulation is that it helps us to perform the multiplexing. So with the help of analog modulation technique, we can perform frequency division multiplexing, where the bandwidth, we used to divide the available bandwidth to each user. Here we used to divide total available time. We used to divide the total available time to the several users. As this particular time division multiplexing is of two types, synchronous TDM and asynchronous TDM. The division of total available time to the users can be done in two ways. Either we can assign a fixed time interval to each user, or we can make this allocation of time slot flexible. If it is fixed and pre-assigned, then it is called synchronous, and if it is flexible, then it is called as asynchronous. What is synchronous TDM? In synchronous transmission, the transmitter clock and the receiver clock are in synchronization. Here we should have a transmitter clock and here we should have a receiver clock, and both the clocks must be in synchronization. What is the meaning of the word synchronization? Synchronization means something which is occurring at the same time. So these two clocks at the transmitter end and at the receiver end must run at the same rate. When they run at the same rate, then we can say that the synchronization is occurring. So it transmits block by block or frame by frame. In case of synchronous time division multiplexing, the data will be transmitted by block by block or frame by frame at a single time with fixed time interval. For example, here we have multiple users. Each user will be allocated with a fixed time slot. And also at the receiver, the same clock we will use at the receiving end, and to whichever user the user want to communicate or want to transmit the data in that particular time slot can transmit his or her data in the form of frames or in the form of blocks. Okay. So in synchronous TDM, multiplexer always allocates the same time slot to each device, whether a device has something to transmit or not. Whether this particular user has something to transmit or not, a time slot will be pre-assigned or prefixed to that particular user, and this process will keep on repeating. Whether that particular user has something to transmit or not, he or she will get that particular duration. So this kind of multiplexing is called as time division multiplexing. This synchronous time division multiplexing is reliable and easy to work, but there is certain disadvantage of this synchronous time division multiplexing. What is the disadvantage? As I have discussed in the last slide, whether the user have something to transmit or not, a time slot will be pre-assigned to that particular user. So in case of synchronous TDM, because the time slots are pre-assigned and fixed, whenever the connected device is not transmitting, the corresponding slot is empty and that much of the path is wasted. If that particular user has nothing to transmit and it is allocated with that particular time slot, then that much of path, that much of bandwidth, we can say that much of duration will be wasted. So to how we can deal with this wastage, or how we can reduce this wastage, by selecting asynchronous time division multiplexing technique. Asynchronous means flexible or which is not prefixed. In asynchronous TDM, it is a process where the time slots are not prefixed and are dynamically allocated to by the multiplexers to the users. Here the devices are not permanently synced, but only during the time of transmission and reception of the data. Time slots are assigned to input channels that have data ready to send over the time division multiplexing medium. Only those users will get the time slots which have something to transmit. Okay, so it will reduce the wastage of the path when the user doesn't have anything to transmit. So in this asynchronous TDM, the overall capacity of the system will be enhanced. Next we have T1 digital carrier system. So we have discussed the digital modulation technique that is called as pulse code modulation. What is this T1 digital carrier system? T1 digital carrier system is a North American digital multiplexing standard since 1963. It is the very first successful system designed to carry the digitized voice. The very first system that was successful for carrying the digital voice data is known as T1 Digital Carrier System. T1 stands for the transmission 1 and specifies a digital carrier system with the help of pulse code modulation encoded analog signals. A T1 carrier system is time division multiplexes PCM encoded samples from 24 voice band channels for transmission, each operating at a maximum data rate of 64 kbps. So each voice band channel has a bandwidth around 300 Hz to 3400 Hz. Let's discuss some more parameters regarding this digital carrier system. The North American Digital Hierarchy System. In T1 Digital Carrier System, we are discussing the North American Digital Hierarchy System. What is this hierarchy system? What is this digital carrier system? It is a kind of service provided by the service provider. So it is a name given to that particular service. Telephone companies implement TDM through a hierarchy of digital signals called as digital signal services. T-lines are digital lines for digital transmission to deliver these digital signal services. So it is a name given to that particular service. T means transmission line. Okay. So in this hierarchy, how we can understand this hierarchy? This is the very let's say it is the first, second, third, and then so on. So in the T1 transmission line, we have the first digital service DS1. The maximum speed in this particular case is 1.544 Mbps. How we have calculated this, we will see in the next slide. Then the T2 line, this is the T2 line where we will get DS2 service, digital signal 2 service. Here the maximum speed we can have is fixed, that is 6.312 Mbps. Next we have T3 service, that is T3 line, that is DS3 service, where we are getting a maximum speed, that is 44.376 Mbps. Similarly, in the next, we are getting the maximum speed as 274.176 Mbps. So, how we have calculated this maximum speed in this hierarchy? Let us observe. So, we will discuss for the first T line, that is T1 digital carrier system. So, in T1 encoding, it combines 24 channel into one frame using TDM. We have seen in T1 digital carrier system how many voice signals we can transmit at once, that is 24 channels, voice signals or 24 channels. Each frame contains one sample of 8 bits from each of the 24 channels. Okay, so adding to this one framing bit for a total, how many bits we will get? 24 into 8 plus 1 framing bit. So it will give us 193 bits, total 193 bits. In order to keep up with the sampling, the frames are sent out of 8,000 frames per second. Generally, we use sampling rate according to the Nyquist criteria. So, keeping that in the mind, the sampling rate will be used as 8,000 frames per second. Multiplying this with the number of bits required to represent each frame, we will have the total line speed for T1 digital carrier system as 8,000 into 193, that is equals to 1.544 Mbps. So, how we have calculated the maximum speed in this case? By multiplying the number of bits required to represent, we can say, each frame of this particular T1 line into the speed or the sampling rate required to transmit that particular data. So, we are getting the maximum speed in case of T1 digital line as 1.544 Mbps. In the similar manner, we can calculate the maximum speed for T2 line, T3 and T4 line. In T3, we are using 96 digital signals. In T2 we are using 96 digital signals. In T3 we are using total 672 digital signals, and in T4 we are using 6 times of digital signal 3, that is the signal or 42 digital signal DS2 services, that is this one. So in this way we can calculate the maximum speed we are getting from each transmission line. Okay. So after completing this T1 digital carrier system, that is related with the first successful transmission of the digital voice signal, now we can compare the analog communication system with the digital communication system. In the first 2 units, we have discussed about the analog communication system. In the 4th unit, we have discussed about the digital communication system. So what is the main difference between digital communication and analog communication system? In digital communication system, we get better immunity against noise and external interferences, while in case of analog communication system, it is more prone to the noise or the external interferences. In case of digital communication with regenerative repeaters, it is possible to transmit over long distances with less distortion. The repeaters will help us to remove the distortions time to time. While in case of analog communication, this feature is not available. In case of digital communication, the cost of digital hardwares are quite lesser in comparison of the hardware required in case of analog communication system. In digital communication, we have the provision to encode the data. So it will provide more security and encryption and privacy to our data. Along with this, in digital communication, we have the provision of error detection and correction in the received data, while these features are not available in case of analog communication system. All these advantages make digital communication superior than the analog communication system. In digital communication, it is possible to store the digital data. We have the circuits and devices with the help of which we can store the digital data. Digital messages are more reliable without any distortion. The digital hardware is cheap, as we have already discussed, while analog signals are very difficult to store, as the bandwidth or the memory required to store the analog signal is infinite. So it is not possible to store analog signals directly. Also, analog systems are not reliable and they have costly hardware. The only disadvantage with the digital communication system is that it requires more bandwidth in comparison of analog communication system. Also, synchronization is required in case of digital communication. In case of analog communication, the bandwidth requirement is lesser as compared to the digital communication system. So, it will ignore the last one. However, we cannot ignore the bandwidth requirement parameter. We have many more advantages of digital communication system over analog communication system. So now we can discuss the digital modulation techniques, the true digital modulation techniques. What will happen in digital modulation? We will have digital information. The digital information will be in the form of binaries, but we cannot transmit the bit sequence or the binary information directly in the channel. So how we will transmit digital information in the channel? That we can do with the help of line coding techniques. So let us discuss about the line coding, why it is required and how we can utilize this line coding for the transmission of digital data. Line coding we can understand as a process of converting digital data into digital signals. There is a difference between digital data and digital signals. Line coding converts a sequence of bits, that is digital data, into digital signal that is a kind of waveform. So what this line coding technique will do, it will convert the digital data available in the form of zeros and ones into a kind of waveform that is called as digital signals. We cannot transmit, this is the representation, this 0101 is what? It is just the representation of our true information that is in the form of analog. So we cannot transmit, we don't have any provision to transmit this 0101. So first we have to convert this representation in some kind of signal. Okay, this conversion will be done with the help of technique that is called as line coding technique. So line coding technique is nothing, it is a process of converting digital data into digital signals. Binary data can be transmitted using several different types of pulses. This is just a one representation. Generally, we used to represent the 1 with a square waveform and 0 with this kind of, and 1 with this kind of waveform or pulse. Okay, this is our general representation. So the binary data can be transmitted using several different type of pulses. The choice of pulse to represent the symbol 1 and 0 is called as line coding technique. We have different types of technique with the help of which we can assign a kind of pulse or a waveform to a particular binary, that is either 0 or to the 1. The selection of line coding, a particular kind of line coding technique, that is the selection of pulse, we can done by considering these points in the mind. The very first one is self-synchronization, that it should be possible to recover the clock pulse from the received data. If we are selecting a particular kind of line coding technique, then it should be capable of self-synchronization. Ease of error detection and correction. The kind of line coding technique we are selecting for representing 0 and 1, it should have the capability for detecting the error, and then with the help of which we can do the corrections. It should have this particular property, that is power spectral density. The spectrum of the line coded data should suitable to the physical medium. We should not select a kind of waveform or a kind of pulse which is not suitable for transmitting the data in a particular kind of medium. It should have bandwidth and power efficiency. The bandwidth requirement should be as small as possible. The power required for the transmission of the data should be as small as possible. So the bandwidth and the power consumption should be as small as possible in that particular line coding technique. The next is DC power content should be ideally 0. It should not have any DC component. It will allow us AC coupling between the stages. So DC component should be ideally 0 in that particular line coding technique, that with the help of which we want to convert digital data into digital signals. And the next is transparency. That means line coded data should be in such a way that any long sequence of 1 and zeros must have only one inference. It should be capable of identifying or separating a long sequence of ones and zeros. So we can keep all these points in mind while selecting a kind of line coding technique for converting digital data into digital signals. Basically, we have three kinds of line coding methods, that is unipolar, polar and bipolar. So let us discuss one by one three of them with the help of one single example. How we can provide the signal to the data with the help of unipolar, polar and bipolar line coding method. So here we have one example. Here we have our data 1 0 1 0 1 1 1 0 0. So this is our digital data that we want to transmit. So first we need to convert this digital data into digital signal. Digital signal means with the help of waveform we have to assign some voltage level to binary 0 and to binary 1. So how we used to assign that voltage level in case of unipolar? Here the term return NRZ indicates non-return to 0. RZ, if it is simply unipolar RZ, it can be NRZ and it can be RZ also. NRZ indicates non-return to 0 level, RZ indicates return to 0 level. For RZ, I will show in the last. So first we have unipolar NRZ line coding method. So how we will assign voltage level in this particular line coding technique? Corresponding to binary 1, we used to assign a positive polarity, and corresponding to binary 0, we used to assign 0 voltage level. That means there is no waveform corresponding to binary 0 and there is positive polarity signal corresponding to binary 1. This is how we used to represent digital data into digital signal with the help of unipolar. Unipolar means single polarity. Okay, so we can observe wherever we are having binary 1 in our digital data, we are having a positive polarity of the waveform, and wherever we are having binary 0 in our digital data, we are having no waveform, that is the waveform is at 0 level. Next we have polar NRZ. In case of polar NRZ, we used to provide polarity to both the bits, that is binary 1 and binary 0. To binary 1, we used to provide positive polarity, and for binary 0, we used to provide negative polarity. So wherever we will have binary 1, we can observe a waveform with positive polarity, and wherever we are having binary 0, we can observe a waveform of negative polarity. So this kind of conversion of digital data into digital signal comes under the category of polar line coding technique. NRZ indicates for one data element, the signal is not returning to the 0 level. Here we are having one signal element corresponding to one data element. Got it? Next is bipolar encoding. In case of bipolar encoding, we use 3 voltage level. We used to assign positive and negative polarity to binary 1 alternatively, and there is 0 voltage level corresponding to binary 0. So how we can represent with this digital data into digital waveform with the help of bipolar encoding? For the first one, if we are using positive polarity, okay, then we have 0 will be indicated with 0 voltage level. Then we have next one. The next one will be indicated with alternate voltage level in comparison of the previous one. So the previous one is indicated with positive polarity, so this next one will be indicated with negative polarity. So on again we have 0, no voltage level, then again 1, compared to the previous one, we will provide it to positive polarity, again we have 1, then negative, then again positive, and then so on. So in case of bipolar, we used to assign positive and negative polarity both to the 1 alternatively. This is also called as AMI, alternate mark inversion line coding technique. Okay, the last one is Manchester encoding. What we used to do in case of Manchester encoding? In case of Manchester encoding, the one will be represented by a positive polarity for half of the duration, and then with negative polarity for another half of the duration. This is for 1. 0 is represented, the first half of the bit is represented with negative polarity, and the second half of the bit is represented with positive polarity. This is 0. So what is 1? It is like this, and what is 0? It is like this. For half of the duration, the signal will be positive. For half of the duration, the signal will be negative. This is called as Manchester encoding. What kind of line coding technique we want to select, that will depend upon those points. Whether this particular technique is capable of providing us the providing us the benefit of error detection, bandwidth efficiency, power consumption or not, we can select any of them to convert digital data into digital signal. This is the case of NRZ. What will be, it will select RZ technique. Let me show you for one of the signal. Here we have like unipolar NRZ. I'll show you for unipolar NRZ. So if we want to show for unipolar RZ, if we want to show the waveform for unipolar RZ, then how it will look like? For 1, it will be first high for half of the duration and then it will return to 0 voltage level. Okay, for 0 there will be no signal, it will remain at 0 voltage level. For the next one, again it will be high, whatever is the polarity assigned to that particular binary will be there for half of the duration, then it will come back to the 0 level for the next half of the duration. Similarly, like this, we can draw the waveform for RZ, unipolar RZ line coding method. So, in case of return to 0, whatever kind of polarity we are assigning to that particular binary, for it will return back to the 0 level after half of the duration. Only this much is the difference between RZ and NRZ technique. Okay, so this is all about the line coding techniques. In next lecture, we will discuss about the true digital modulation technique, that is amplitude, phase and frequency shift keying. This is all about this video lecture. Thank you everyone.